The Nigerian youth cannot change Nigeria. I will say it all day. Youths are nothing but a reflection of society. You want to know whether your society is crazy? Look at your youth.
68 items that the oil and gas assets of the Niger Delta now belongs to people in Jigawa. It's in those exclusive lists that the Port of Lagos, which is ordinarily Yoruba asset.
Africa. Africa. Africa.
And don't deceive yourself that those who are parading themselves as rulers of Nigeria in Abuja are the people in charge of our country. The IMF and the World Bank today are giving the budget of Nigeria before it is read to all of us. And we have just been told that 16 trillion naira budget been presented by the government. 6 trillion, the government is going to take loans to fund the budget, to pay salaries, and to enjoy themselves. But we have just sent a letter. I belong to an organization, the People's Alternative Political Movement. We just sent a letter last Friday to the Attorney General of the country. You guys, based on the judgment of the Supreme Court, the federal government wrote to 6 oil companies, we call them international oil companies, IOCs, to the effect that for 18 years, you did not pay certain profits to the government. And how much? $62 billion. Oh yes. The Attorney General wrote to the oil companies, please, can you pay up? Another minister, Mr. Dempre Silva, said, nobody can pay this kind of money. We are going to negotiate and beg them to see what they can give us in our country. With the point we are making, if you have $62 billion today in this economy, we won't take a loan. We will have money for education, for health, for fixing our roads and the rest of them. And that is the point being made. Ours is not a poor country. We are ruled by poverty of ideas. It's not about poverty of people. It's poverty of ideas. Seun made a point. We need to get organized. Organization is vital. If we are organized, we can defeat the enemies of Nigeria. Another agency of the government came up last week. We didn't read the report. NEITI. That is the agency set up to monitor the extractive industry. That body said that 177 companies are owing the government $6.8 billion. Again, we have written to the government. Can we know these companies? Can we help us? Can we help you to go to court to recover the money? They haven't replied us because they don't want to collect the money. So the point therefore is that our country has no business with poverty. I'm going to call on Nnamdi to speak to us. Tony, your turn.
Good morning, if it's morning in your area, afternoon. You may have seen Fela, you may have heard about Fela. I happen to have interacted with those who interacted with Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, Chief Anthony Enohoro. The stories he told me about what Fumilayo led other women to do will almost diminish what Fela did to that of a gentleman trying to, Fumilayo will take action before she tells you what the quarrel is. Ask the Alake of Egbaland in those days. There's another associate of mine and of the project, Professor Wole Soyinka. When we came to the point of being finally conquered by those who are holding us down, it took Wole Soyinka plunging into the middle to bring us to where we had a consensus to plan again on what to do to bring ourselves out of bondage. Pronaco. After the Pronaco, he became one of the plaintiffs that went with us to court. In 2007, we finished Pronaco in 2005. Soyinka was one of my 10 plaintiffs who went to court to say we did not make the Constitution of Nigeria. And that suit that began almost innocuously has grown teeth. It will take down that monster that we've been discussing and describing from our various points of suffering, whether you were being killed in the Middle Belt, or you were crying for your resources in Niger Delta, or you were Yoruba being chased into IDP camps in Benin Republic, or you were in the East being slaughtered like a chicken. All of us are being exterminated by this one monster. And that monster is something that has legitimized itself by way of the Constitution we have to obey. It was imposed by that monster. That monster is now the owner of our lands, our sovereignty, our assets. That monster is the sole custodian of all the guns in the land, whether you went to the army or police or the DSS, wherever. That monster is the one that signs off on all the things that control economic assets. So Dangote can be given half of Lagos Port to do whatever he has to do. He can be assigned oil to refine and sell to us at whatever price. The limestone of Benue can be assigned to him to use free of charge to make cement and sell to us. So there's something fundamentally wrong. And so when we begin to look at the kind of title we have here, evolution or devolution, the previous speakers had done some justice in making a distinction. But let me create a common ground upon which we build what we have to do now. Because what I came to share with us is what we can do now to end this trauma. If we listen and do it, I tell you, by the close of this quarter, by the time people are heading out for Christmas, that enemy will be on his knees, because we went out in the last 22 years to work out how to dismantle this instrument, the Constitution, by which that monster has legitimized itself in our spaces in the name of a Nigeria that died in 1967. And so, whether you talk about evolution or devolution, let us rule out devolution. Because devolution means you are taken from where it is to give to the constituent units. That is reverse logic. In a federation is a union of constitutions. In a federation, it is the constituent units that donate the powers that go to the center. So if anybody is still thinking in terms of what the center will do to give to creating states, creating geopolitical zone, that person doesn't understand what we're discussing. Then for evolution, yes, the revolution we talk about, which is really the solution to the problem, is only taken from the perspective of evolution. Revolution is only about the degree of change and the speed of that change. So, if instead of taking 1,000 years, you decide to take 1 year, it is a revolution that you could move away from something that took so long to build. You could reduce it to 1 week. You could reduce it to 1 hour, where you now go straight to the palace, behead a few people, and take charge, and become the sovereign. And so, what we have to do is of a revolutionary nature, but there's a process that will manage all of what could go wrong, which was why we drew up a plan that took so long. Technical, please bring the the battle script of 1960 so that we can see where this monster is coming from. If we understand where it's coming from and what is done to bring us to this enslavement, that go to everything. We can't generate electricity for ourselves. Not that we don't have the capacity. Somebody who doesn't want electricity for us wrote it down that we cannot generate electricity. It's called exclusive list. No, the one in red. Good. That is what we are dealing with. That is what has become the constitution that we have to obey. That the people who were handed over this territory by their joint venture partner Britain in 1960 were telling their left that the territory, which includes Yoruba land, Ijo land, Igbo land, Tiv land, Berom land, must be an estate of their great-grandfather Uthman Danfodio. On no account should there be a change of power. That they will use the minorities of the north, that's the middle belt as we have it today, as willing tools. The Gowons of this world, the Danjumas of this world, the Husainis of this world, Jeremiah. And that the south will then be a conquered territory. Never allow them rule over us. Never allow them control over their own future. If you bring the map of Nigeria, and you can bring the alliance map, you can see, in perspective, how that instruction has been executed. No, the other map. Good. You see the territory in yellow. That's the 12 contiguous states that impose Sharia. And the territory in white is the balance of Nigeria, the south and the middle belt. That instruction you saw there was the basis of all of what was done to impose this constitution that tie our hands to the back and seize our sovereignties. Like doctors who do, you go from diagnosis to prescription to treatment. If you miss the diagnosis, some say, oh, it's leadership. Let's go get better people to come to lead us. No matter who you bring to govern Nigeria now or manage Nigeria with this constitution, that person will fail. Because it's like asking them to go to fetch water with basket, the type you used to bring tomatoes from Jos. If I cannot generate my electricity, I cannot do the road from my state capital to the other capital because it's federal asset. I cannot defend myself, organize my own security. I have the capacity to, but I'm being prevented by those who imposed the instrument. There are 68 such items. I can't even elect who will govern me because there's an INEC in Abuja, in a federation. Imagine the day that people from Tennessee or some corner of California will have to come to New York to organize who will govern New York. That's what we've been living with. And it is in those 68 items that the oil and gas assets of the Niger Delta now belongs to people in Jigawa. It's in those exclusive lists that the port of Lagos, which is ordinarily Yoruba assets, have been the exclusive possession of people from that other part. From independence to date, not one controller general of Yoruba origin to collect the over 2 trillion that they take from that port every year. Yet Lagos has to join other states to go cap in hand to Abuja to beg every month. They don't get even 5% of what Nigeria takes away from here, from the port alone. You now talk about the taxes. Lagos is responsible for at least 60% of all of what they share in taxes, VAT and the other taxes. The 24 banks in Nigeria, apart from their Unity Bank, that is headquartered in Abuja, are all headquartered in Lagos. If their taxes were to be reckoned for what it should be in a federation, imagine what that alone translates to. The telecom companies and all of the companies operating here. But there's a federal government sitting in Abuja in a situation where our federation collapsed in 1967 completely. The garment the carcass of that federation that collapsed was taken over by the man who was making that statement, the one in red, and his people. They are wearing that garment now, pretending that they are still Nigeria in place, and they imposed this instrument that now make us permanent political minority. We came into this federation as a federation of 3 regions, and one out of that 3, in fact, in 1963, Western region had to give up a part of it that became Midwestern region. By plebiscite, the 4 regions, of the 4 regions, one has become the 19 states and the Federal Capital Territory. That if you join the local government, they created 704 local government areas, in which Kano alone has 44. Bayelsa has 8. Lagos, that is responsible for half of urban Nigeria, whether it's human or material resources, is still to keep 20 local government areas. Whether you talk about representation or the sharing of resources or distribution of resources and opportunities, you will see that we've gone from being in control of at least each 25% to that one region has become 72% of all of what we are, including the assets that God put in our spaces. And so the nature of the problem we have to solve is that instrument that make us slaves in our land, there is nothing in apartheid constitution that is not replicated here. And it was imposed, and our signature, this is where the matter now becomes something we can deal with by ourselves. It is our signature that sustains this instrument. That preamble that says, I'm happy there are lawyers here, that preamble that says, we the people, having solemnly resolved to live in unity as one indivisible country, do hereby make and give unto ourselves the following constitution. That is the key for our escape from this dungeon. If we apply that key today, we'll be out of this whole mess, including the guns that are being pointed at us. Because it's on account of that false claim that you are called Nigeria. It's on account of that false claim that people who are after your life can come to your space pointing guns at you. It's on account of that, signature that your assets now belong to them. Everything we complain about, the corruption you think you need to go and fight, this constitution creates corruption and comprehensively protects the beneficiaries of corruption. If you want to ask me how, I will refer you to section 6, subsection 6C, that absolves government of responsibility towards you. Section 6, if there's any lawyer in this land that will want a debate on that, we ask him to come forward so that we can disgrace him in the open. Under section 6, subsection 6C of this constitution, the government does not owe you any obligation, because all the good things of life that are listed in chapter 2 for you, equal opportunity, education, healthcare, every good thing you can imagine are in chapter 2. But section 6, subsection 6C, renders it non-justiciable, leaving it at the discretion of people in government to do whatever they choose to do for you. Then they come to the appropriation provisions. They give them the spare key to the treasury. Section 81 of the Constitution says that the president must go to get permission to spend money, like other countries. But section 82 says that while the legislature is debating that appropriation bill, he's at liberty to run government spending money subject to certain dubious limits. As it is the president in section 81, 82, so it is for the governors in sections 121, 122. Do you know what that means? The heads of the executive branch in Nigeria have the spare key to the treasury and can take the contents of the treasury to the last bit without any form of inhibition. Nothing stops them. Then they come to section 308 that gives them absolute immunity. You can't question them for whatever they do. Between the three, they don't owe you obligation. They can take all the money and you can't question them. By the next election, their chief of staff is replacing them. The man who will go to prison, if you were to prove the previous tenure, that is who becomes the next person. And so they've managed to carry us, as if we can't think. And that was why some of us who had seen some of these things now decided to pull back from it and draw up a plan. It was a 20-year plan that was deployed the same year the Constitution came. Because it wasn't in 1999 they created the 36 states. Everything came from 1979. And that 79 came from what Murtala Muhammad commissioned before, they took him out in 76. And so, where we are now, to come to this the diagnosis. The British came and did what they did, handed over to them in 1960, and they've managed to maintain it by brigandage, toppling what we agreed in Lancaster House to impose what we now have. If we take down this, we will be free. Whether you want to be Odua Republic, or you want the kind of federation that Awolowo had, or you want Biafra, or you want resource control, our common task at this time is to take down this instrument. We are like in a cage under this instrument. And we are put in that cage by the people who gave the instruction that we should be put in that cage. How do we take down the instrument? Practical. Until science becomes technology, you are just theorizing. I come today to tell us that generation that enacted NSAS, this talk goes to you. If you listen now and do what needs to be done, anybody who is inviting you to come to election under this constitution is inviting you to sign off to be killed, because it's this constitution that has empowered those who can come to your space and kill you without consequence. It's this constitution that has empowered the politician that is stealing money you can't stop. It's this constitution that empowered people who can sit in Abuja and go 1, 2, 3, 4 down the list of those who scored at elections to bring a Hope Uzodinma to be governor in Imo. Imo is bleeding today. Igbo land is a festival of blood because we're in Nigeria. Yoruba has not come under that level of pressure. But if you go to the Middle Belt to see what the people who are supposed to be our compatriots in the same project are doing, they have opened our borders for their like to come from across the border to join them. They are in joint venture with ISIS. ISIS wants an operational base away from the Middle East. The man who is our president, who is also the champion of this Fulani invasion, opens our border to bring both ISIS and the Fulani that will help them to overrun the rest of us. That's what they are in a conquest mood. They are putting elections, PDP, APC, who will go first, to do what? To preside over this rape. And we are listening to them and looking at them and wanting to go with them. They are the ones who will do the PVC, plastic. But while they give you plastic, they are distributing AK-47 across your local communities. They are the ones who carry the ballot box around. They are the ones who, the niece of our president is the one controlling INEC, and we're going to election. It will be signing our death warrant to go for one more election under this 1999 constitution. What we are inviting you to do, and I speak to you now with the mandate of NINAS. Some of our compatriots from the Middle Belt couldn't get here. They are all involved in this message. We're informing you that the owners of Nigeria, and you saw them on the streets of New York 3 weeks ago, are saying to the whole world that our union has collapsed. We have defeated the constitution by which we are held down. Those who impose a constitution are now on an attempt to conquer us afresh by extermination in order to reestablish their ownership and control. What we need to do, it is election they used to validate the life of the Constitution once every 4 years. All the problems are flowing from the Constitution. We all understand that. How do we now stop that cycle? If we go to another election in 2023 with them, instead of shutting down the journey, we are telling the political parties, and we can all insist, whether it's party A or party B or C that wins, the winner will swear to defend and uphold this abomination for another season. Meanwhile, every day we postpone this remedy. The ones who are approaching us with AK-47 will continue to come in the name of Nigeria. If we raise that issue in this last quarter of 2021, that we are not going to another election under this constitution, I tell you, by December, by the time people are heading for Christmas, that enemy will be on his knees begging for accommodation. If we don't, I can tell you, we are doomed.
Tony. We are going to invite three people, 2 minutes, reacting to the suggestions, contributions of our eminent speaker. And after that, we'll give each of them, 2 minutes to round up.
I want to thank you all on the panel for a very nice, educative discussion. My primary focus is on Seun. Seun, I want to ask you, it's not by chance that you've been blessed with the knowledge that you know. And may you live long for us. I want to ask you, what will it take to galvanize the youths of this country? And how can we change their mindset from being money first and greedy to not allow the politicians to influence them with, we'll give you this if you vote for me, we'll give you that. How can we change their mindset?
Thank you.
Going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next. Yes.
Thank you. My question goes directly to Mr. Tony Nnamdi. You spoke extensively on the way forward for Nigeria being under slavery. That we should come together to look for ways to to stop the constitution that has been in slavery to us. How are we going to achieve that? Is it just by mere say, just saying it, or it's going to be like you're going to make like an organized group for that to be achieved?
All right. Yes, please, madam.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Tokwe Mark Odige. Sometimes it's tiring to talk about Nigeria. It is. I just came back. I traveled for a short while, and I met many Nigerians who I said are suffering from PTSD, the trauma of being born in Nigeria, and it's our everyday reality. So I hear my sister there saying we should participate, and I hear my brother canvassing that what are we participating in, and I'm passionate about making this thing work because I don't have any other home. I have 3 children. We're all what is the option we have? So apart from discussing the problems, we have enough time to 2023. So my question to the panel is, what can we achieve in the next 2 years before 2023 that would raise the hope of people, giving us options? So he has already said we should organize. I hear that. But after what happened with NSAS, nobody, after what happened to me after NSAS, I don't want to die. So, and I could have died. Then the maximum would be candlelight. That's all. That is, people come out for the candlelight. So how do we organize effectively to galvanize the change we need to see in Nigeria? How do we wake up hope? Because that's one of the biggest things that I notice. People have lost hope here. So there's a mass checking out going on. Every possibility to leave this country, people are exploring it. So within the next 2 years, how can we raise hope? How can we lead change? And probably, who should we galvanize behind? And who should we organize for?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. I've listened to the Senate spokesman, Bashiru Ajibola. He has always emphasized that referendum is not recognized in our constitution. So how do we begin this process of resetting the political system? at the moment here. Because as it is from the numerous valid position of Mr. Tony, I don't think the court can declare a 1999 constitution illegal. So how do we go about this? Are we going to pass a referendum to launch, to ensure that citizens can decide whether, okay, are you okay with this present status quo, or do you need a new system that will launch Nigeria on a path of prosperity? Thank you very much.
Organization. Organize.
Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon. Maybe not really a question, but an observation. Because few people are saying we should organize. We should get together. And somebody asked Seun now, that what are the youth doing to get organized together, and what can he do? And I was telling my colleague here, a comedian as well, I said, the kind of messages, information we get from the media is not helping the Nigerian youth to even forge ahead. Here is a Made that is 25. If you have had the opportunity to listen to his album, it was touching every part of the society, every part of the ills in the society. Correcting leaders, correcting we the citizen with music. So my question is, how many songs that the youth are listening today is even helping them to think of reorganizing or to participate? None. Absolutely, out of 100, maybe 4 or 5. So if the media can help us to stop feeding on those negativity and tilt towards positivity, maybe, just maybe, something might change. Thank you.
Don't deceive yourself. The media, the newspapers, television stations are not neutral. They are set up by certain people to achieve the objective you are talking about, to deceive the Nigerian people. So we also have to fight them. Thank you. Yes?
Good day, sir. My name is Bidi Nana. I'm actually referring to Mr. Tony. You said you were talking to the youths who actually did the NSAS. The truth is this, if we should tell ourselves the truth, an average Nigerian youth has given up hope. They are afraid. They have instilled this fear in us. If during the NSAS they had 40% of courage, I'm telling you by now, it's not up to 5%. Now my question is this. How will you ensure an average Nigerian youth that organize yourself again? How will you? Because the boldness and the courage in us has been destroyed. Please, if there's any way you can assure Nigerian youth that organize yourself, you will get ahead of it, please do. We need to know.
Thank you.
Very much.
I'm called Saida. I have no surname.
Go on.
I have no state. It's important. And I have no local government. I'm a Nigerian. I am nearer to 60 than I am to 55.
I consider.
Yes. Now, I want to first address Ariola and Seun and biases and prejudices. First of all, Ariola made some salient points on participation. As a woman, she was not as well received as Seun that made the same points. Seun made those points also, Ariola, in an engaging manner. When we talk about people being in politics and so on, I loved what Seun said. I loved his delivery. Please, sir, I won't be long. We need to learn what it is we are going to do. We only talk about problems. We don't talk about solutions. Ariola, I don't know your age. Seun, I think I have an idea of your age, and I will tell you why. Because I met your father. Now, we, this generation upwards, forget Buhari, forget anybody. Tinubu is a Yoruba man trying to come back. Geriatrics in power, all of us. Give it to the young people. They can do this job. If everybody 60 and over resigned, Igbo, Yoruba, Fulani, Tiv, Nigeria will change. Let them steal. Let them steal what they will steal. They will balance out. They watch BBN, whatever that is. We don't watch it. They are not us. Allow them to fly. We don't want to empower them. We want to watch from afar at our age and tell them what to do. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes, please.
I am veteran Che.
Veteran
Olawale Okuni. I've listened with rapt attention. And I think that flowing from Comrade Femi Falana, there is a class question. There is a revolutionary question for Nigeria. But there is also the national question.
Yes, of course.
Which can take us to solving the revolutionary question. And that is the constitutional issue raised by Tony. He may not have dwelt on the revolutionary question. Because first and foremost, the problem with Nigeria is class struggle. It's a class question. Imposed and foisted by some collaborators in the north, in the south, in the west, etc. And then you have to deal with that, knowing fully what he said. But then we must deal with this. And the only way to deal with it also is part of what he said, talked about, which is that we must begin to do civil disobedience and say we are not going to election under this constitution. This was foisted at decree number 24 of 1999. And so we can't continue the same way. There is no way we will deal with that. We go again, we go back to the same circle. And it's a circle of manipulation and exploitation. And therefore, it is time for us to rise. We are doing what we call the National Consultative Front. And it's like an omnibus of a grand coalition of those who want change. We are going to party. Because for us, the party question is a critical question. You don't have political party as we stand in Nigeria. APC is not a political party. I was part of foisting it. And I must let you know that I was critical in bringing about the movement that gave back to APC. But then, today, you have the same elements who have taken over everywhere, and the party itself cannot function beyond the presidency. So therefore, Nigerian people must begin to own, the country. They have, you were stated the NSAS. We don't need to fizzle out. We need to organize now. We need to join forces with others who are working. We need to make sacrifice. There is need for sacrifice. And join forces and create a party.
Yeah.
There must be a people's party. I know Seun has started MOP, Movement of the People. Is that not so? I know that is going on. But we need, at the end of the day, if we must do resistance, that will be formidable. A major formidable, what we call mega mass party that can resolve this national question first and foremost, and the revolutionary question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seun Kuti. Nike.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, everyone, for the wonderful presentations. I wanted to address a point, which is to do with the way we ethnicize the issue. Femi has explained to us, and I think most of us, if we look deeply, will agree that the North and the more extreme parts of the North are the poorest parts of this country. You need to go there to understand. And they have complex issues. Lagosians are like Ajebotas in comparison to the issues they suffer there. And so we should not raise enmity amongst us on the basis of tribe. It's very important where people are raising it. Our leaders do not look at themselves when it comes to their tribe. They fraternize. And they go to Buhari's son's wedding, they have fun, they go abroad, they meet. I'm sure Pandora box will disclose many things. And we should be careful not to ethnicize. This problem that we are facing, in my opinion, I wouldn't call it a class struggle because I'm, should I say, disappointed by the so-called socialists and communists in our country. The social or class struggle is convenient. The reality is that we need to organize, and how we organize in a practical way is not clear to me. Mr. Nnamdi has spoken about the Constitution and how we need to get rid of it. We are clearly not organized as people in Nigeria. We are clearly not. So just telling people to organize doesn't mean anything in real terms. The question is, how do we go about organizing? How? Do we get churches? Do we meet church leaders? Our so-called intelligentsia, we have to meet, not just complain about the problem. There has to be some kind of networking for those who are truly, committed to changing Nigeria. But anyway, where I'm going is the structures that prevent changing the constitution are enormous, and they are within that constitution. We saw what happened with NSAS. NSAS, while it was well organized, was almost a local protest. How do we get a national uprising? It doesn't have to be millions, but it has to be critical so that the people in power know that we are serious. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to put a question to each of the speakers to just please give us, in a paragraph, what they think, rather than generalizations of organize. As a first step, what do you say to a youth? What do you do to take this organization forward? How do you go about it?
Thank you.
Ariella has explained that we participate, but again, how? Thank you.
Thank you.
There is something that is going on presently, which is we all listen to music in this country. Music is very, very vital to us. And the reason why we are even gathered here today is because of Baba. Baba is the reason why I'm here, even after a few years later. So what I would say is that whatever message we want to pass to our people, we can use this music as a weapon. Because right now, the whole world is paying attention to our music. And if we, as we are here right now, gather as one, as a team, and make it possible, I believe that the music can speak to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Seun Kuti. Fela advocated for a united Africa. So let us not fall into that trap of, creating enmity and ethnicizing what is bad and what is good. There are only two tribes in Nigeria, the tribes of the looters and the looted. Any other one in between is just story.
Thank you very much.
My question is this: do we forget that majority of Nigerians are illiterate? That whatever we're discussing here, they do not know about it? Are we going to the grassroots? Are we actually educating them? I don't think so. So it's good for us to speak in seminars, conferences like this. It's also good to be on social media. But those on the streets do not know what you're saying. So how do we get to them for them to also understand that they also have a part to play in the issues of Nigeria? Thank you.
Thank you very much. How do we mobilize the people? We're going back to the high table. We're starting from here.
Please, technical. All right. I need to see. We came with answers based on 22 years of continuous engagement with the subject matter. So we can choose to work with our ignorance or to work with knowledge. You have a tap that is on, flooding the place with corruption and impunity and killings. And you have a choice to turn off that tap and end all of those things. Then you choose to mop corruption, education, healthcare, election. In 300 years, if you are still alive, because the one who turned up the tap knows where he's going with it. And so, technical, please, take us quickly to Domino 1 and 2. I want us to leave this place with answer we can give to third party. And before he comes up with it, there is a website that has these things that we need to do. Millions of people are already on it. You may not know because it's not noisy on the streets. You saw people in New York the other day. Beyond the people you saw on the streets, discussions are going on inside that building because they have been worried since 2019 that Nigeria will suddenly come to where it will snap and 200 million people will be looking for refuge. Those who are planning to go to election and win power and then solve the problem tomorrow are not telling us what they're going to do with the Fulani herdsmen that are approaching them. And if you think that the global terror index that identified Fulani herdsmen as the fourth most deadly terror organization in the world, if you think they are foolish in calling them Fulani, now tell me, why are killings going on in Zamfara? Muslims are being killed. It is because it is a Fulani agenda wearing a religious garment. If you don't find answer for that question, they will keep taking you from PDP to APC or to mega party. I'm sorry for those who are putting together those mega parties, because you are inviting us to come to renew our enslavement. www.ninasvoice.org. I repeat, www.ninasvoice.org. If you want to leave, you acquaint yourself with what is going on. If we want to die, we can go to elections.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. I don't know whether it's because I'm a politician that you think I'm talking about 2023 election when I say participate. Because that's what I get. I'm talking about participating in the process to get to good governance. Participating in a process to get for nation building. That's what we're talking about, isn't it? Nation building. So that's what I'm talking about. So it's same organizing, participation. If you don't participate, how will you organize? Can you sit down in your homes? I said before, one of the things that is our problem is that we do not have knowledge. We do not stick to it. We were talking about Grandma Kuti earlier on, and they said struggle for that the Anikulapo-Kuti struggled for their rights. They knew their rights and they stood for it. How do you stand for your rights? How do you know your right if you do not know it? How do you do those things? So when I'm talking about participation, I'm not talking about 2023 election. 2023 election is far from my mind. It is obvious that with the constitution we have, it will be business as usual if we get the next set of people. We know that. It is obvious that if we do not do certain things, but how do we do those things? How do we do those things? We always sit down and talk about it all the time. So this is the question you're asking, and this is what I said at the beginning. I said I didn't have slides, I didn't have all those things, because it's important that you know that you have a part to play. You have a part to play. There is power in numbers. There is power in numbers. Your voice can make a difference. Thank you.
I understand that at the core of the questions that have been asked, I've realized it is the questions represent a misunderstanding of power. I repeat, there's a misunderstanding of power. Even when people say they want to change the constitution, that is a power move. You want to change constitution? It's a power move. You need power. No amount of emotions can change constitution. No amount of protests, rally. If we like, we storm the National Assembly. The federal lawmakers will refuse to sit down and discuss constitution change. Why? You don't have the power to compel them. So, how do you do it without power? The word everybody here is afraid to say is that they want violent change. That's what they are saying. Oh, we are not participating in 2023 election. Because if we don't participate in elections, that means there's no governance. If there's no governance, then there's anarchy. I'm not an anarchist. And too many African people have died for nothing. for me to be discussing anarchy in 2021. That's why they kill us. 3 million Nigerians in 1967 say they are doing one Nigeria. Nigeria must not divide. The same people that killed everybody that Nigeria must not divide are saying today they want to divide Nigeria. So me, I don't understand the concept. But I believe that we as the people of Nigeria, with power, we can decide. So how do we want power? Do you want to fight? Yes. I understand you are angry, you want to fight, you want to shoot some guns, as you see in the film. All of us, we are all inspired by TV. You know, anybody in Nigeria that wants to fight, just wants to fight because they are seeing some people shooting gun on TV. If you own a gun in here, please raise up your hand. If you own a gun, don't be afraid. What in the day? You go say you did lie, police can arrest you. If you own a gun, raise up your hand. Licensed or unlicensed? Good. One lady. You know, that's why I like African women. Only one woman here. So, all of you, somebody has to buy you gun first. That is where your second slavery starts immediately. That somebody else will buy you the gun you used to fight for your own freedom. Because that person dictates the shots, will dictate where you point that gun. You are still not free. You just have a new master. The only way we can be free of our own accord is to engage these people politically, defeat them, take power, then decide ourselves the Nigeria we want to see. At that moment, the constitution is ours to manipulate. At that moment, the VAT that they are making noise is ours to manipulate. The budget is ours to manipulate. I'm not talking about voting for a president. I'm talking about voting one president, 36 governors, all the state lawmakers, federal lawmakers, every single political office in this country occupied by a true representative of the people. Or at least a majority of it. You know? That is the first step. So our first step here is power. Let's discuss. Why can't we organize as the people? Organize ourselves. And I will tell you why. It is not because the Nigerian youths are watching BBN or the Nigerian youths are lazy. It is because the Nigerian professional doesn't want to organize. The Nigerian youths cannot change Nigeria. I will say it all day. Youths are nothing but a reflection of society. You want to know whether your society is crazy, look at your youths. If you want to know whether your society is intelligent, look at your youths. Youths are only a reflection of society. Youths have no power. They have no money, no jobs. How do they begin to bring influence on society? It is the professionals that must organize the platform to bring them in with the ideas and channel their energy correctly. There is no nation, I've never seen a nation that was built by young people. Show me the nation that is thriving in the world today that was built by a couple of 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds. Say, let's build a nation. No. Nations are built by the experience of the old and the energy of the young.
Would respond to Seun, over.
We are Malians. Yeah, I'm very happy to be on this podium finally. I've been requesting for about 7 years to be included in the panelists every year for some reason, you know. But this year I decided to fit Agbasi. So you see that some panelists are not here. I don't think they too understand why they are not here. You know, I know why. I made it so. And I was looking at my phone waiting. And they called me, Sheo, please, can you feel it? I say, yes. So this is not, as we say in Nigeria, ordinary eye. It's not ordinary. So evolution or devolution, the topic is interesting. It's because the professionals of Nigeria are afraid of revolution. So let me just make my point. So evolution for me doesn't change the nature of a character. So evolution is more about, in science really, the theory of evolution by Charles Darwin. Basically in science, evolution simply means the physical adaptation of a species to its environment. So the nature of that species remains the same. So a lion can be a bear in America, but it's still an aggressive motherfucker. Might just look different, might growl different, but it's still a motherfucking aggressive motherfucker. So that for me is what evolution means, And seriously, I think this is the goal of the Nigeria professional and both business and ruling elite, is to find a way to perfect oppression. To find a way that they oppress everybody, but we're okay with it. So they try, and they give us different ways and different terminologies, but it's basically the same thing, over and over again. And for me, what Nigeria needs is a revolution, but not the mainstream idea of what everybody thinks a revolution should be. Because I believe that revolution is ideology in action. Not just because you are angry. Somebody was telling me, a friend of mine, they voted out a politician in their area. Good thing. I said, why? Say because when they came to beg, they begged him for money, he did not give them. I said, so if he had given you the money, you'll have voted for him again. He said, yes now. So now there has been change in that neighborhood, but there has not been a revolution. Meaning that the character, the nature of that neighborhood will remain the same. That certain people will still exploit certain people in that neighborhood. And this for me is the answer, is the question that Nigeria must answer. Even if we devolve power. And I don't want people to act as if Nigeria has not been regional before. We are historical. This restructuring noise irritates me because we have been regional before. And under the regional government of Nigeria, you've not seen that kind of corruption before. You think these people are corrupt in this federal system? Go and read the history of corruption in the regional system of Nigeria. These people will turn themselves to demagogues in their region. I mean, if you are Yoruba and you are Operation Wet here, I don't know why. It's just here. It happened right here. Even when people praise Awolowo that he built school. Awolowo built school for you because he had the ambition of being prime minister. The free school he built will make him look good for his prime ministerial job. Finish. I studied the character of everybody. So this is what the problem is. Nigeria is a manifestation of our collective consciousness. You understand what I'm saying? Nigeria is a manifestation of our collective consciousness. It's not about evolution, devolution. If you like, devolve power to the poorest man in one neighborhood that has been suffering all his life. He will use the suffering that he has suffered all his life to justify making other people suffer. And that for me is the fundamental basis that African people must learn, that your pain is not justification to cause somebody else pain. So it is this collective consciousness. Even when Uncle Femi came up here to talk about BBN, BBN is a way to blame Nigerian youth. Oh, you are watching BBN, but who paid for it? Uncle Femi's friends. Who pays, who sponsors, on what platform is BBN? Is it the youth that own the platform? If BBN is not there, will they watch it? Don't blame us now. You don't give us library, you give us BBN. and you are complaining. We will leave it and carry gun. No? We will leave BBN. When we leave BBN now and carry gun, say your mind will come down. We are doing the one you give us. Like the one way you give us, nightclub everywhere, hotel everywhere, you will still be complaining that we are fucking too much, we are dancing too much. Why are you building the hotel everywhere and the club everywhere? Is that what you expect? I mean, should we let your businesses crumble? I'm not understanding. In as much as we believe that Nigeria needs some kind of political. I am the pro tem chairman of Movement of the People. And you know what that simply means? It doesn't mean that I believe in the political process of Nigeria. It doesn't mean that I believe in the words of our elite. It doesn't even mean that I believe in democracy. It means that I'm seeking any peaceful avenue to remove my people from this prison. You see, I'm not. When you organize a political party, when you organize, that word organize is what is scaring Nigerian people. You understand? They've made you afraid to organize. And that is the problem we have. Forget restructuring, forget headsmen. If I organize my area, they don't burn the headsmen well. It is the lack of organization, the lack of camaraderie, solidarity, because that is what the elites do. Divide us with any rich. The rich is different from the poor. The Yoruba is different from Igbo. Igbo is different from Hausa. The Christian is different from the Muslim. The young is different from the old. Any line of division that can exist in humanity is drawn here, exacerbated by their media, projected as if that is the only thing happening. Even I have been a victim just weeks ago. I was blaming the media. I said, some non-entity will post, Wizkid is better than Fela. This person has 200 followers. He has made 10,000 posts. Nobody knows this person. Now, the media will carry this post of a non-entity, take it and put it on a platform with millions of followers as a way to insult Fela, but they'll be doing as if it is just they are carrying news. Now, millions of Nigerian youth insult Buhari every day. Have you ever seen the media go and carry the insult of one non-entity of Buhari? The only way somebody can insult Buhari and the media will report it is if Uncle Femi does it, or one senator, or maybe Brafemi, or what. They can never retweet the tweet of a non-entity to insult Buhari. You understand? So I made that point, and immediately they switched it again. Shehu is jealous of whiskey. So you see, that's the Nigerian professional for you. Go inside his bank. It's the same thing he does to you. He hates you. Doesn't want to give you loan. You enter there, his face squeeze up. Because he knows that's where they are laundering all your money from. It must make you feel down and low. Every money they are counting there is your own. When Skybank before they pack up, the government first gave them 200 billion. See, when people say you are capitalist, I laugh. You, this poor man, running around thinking you are a capitalist. Nobody in Nigeria can be a capitalist. Even Dangote, for one reason only. We lack capital. We lack the capital. I say it everywhere. If Bill Gates wakes up with Dangote's money, he'll commit suicide. Microsoft is $1.7 trillion. How much is the whole of Nigeria? The last time we did it under Iwela, she said it was 505 billion. And now they say that same economy don't shrink by 70%. So if you remove 70 from that 505, that's the number we are all of both Dangote or $10. That's our number. Microsoft alone, 1.7 trillion. That means, Bill Gates can buy our country. He has bought it already. So don't even worry. Don't worry about that. Bill Gates is also a president of Nigeria. We have plenty presidents. Don't think Buhari is your only president. If all of you who sit down here, you are blaming Buhari. He's not your only president. Nigeria has plenty presidents. In fact, Femi is the president of Shrine. Wait, he provides security, light, water, infrastructure. Still give people like me welfare package. Anyway, to round up, what I believe is that whether Nigeria evolves, whether there is an evolution of this power or system or a devolution of power, until we go to the core of that which has been spread within us, because Nigeria, as my big brother there, the gigantic Dele Farotimi said, Nigeria was stitched together. You understand? And he didn't want to really use the right words, but it was a deal between oppressors and slave traders, And these slave traders are those people that believe that European things, mirror, gunpowder, gin, textile, umbrella, were more valuable than human beings. And 500 years later, their descendants are still in control. I'm telling you for a fact. All of them, from Tinubu to Meideribe to El Rufai to Buhari. Go and check their lineage. Go and see. Even in Uruguay, they did a research like 12, 15 years ago in Uruguay and found out that 84% of the country's wealth is still owned by the 54 conquistador families that conquered those people 500 years ago. So, you understand, the white Spaniards that came, 54 families, 500 years, they are Uruguayans now, they are no longer Spanish. But them and their agents, they still control over 80% of that nation's economy. Nigeria has never done that kind of research. I wonder what we will find. How many of these families truly, because it is not about who has money, it's who you are working for. The person will get the money, who in the work for, you link it and you find, let's see how many families truly are in control of our country. And you find at the core of it that it's still these descendants of these slave traders who still believe that the European things are worth more than African lives. But today, instead of mirror, it's Gucci shades. Instead of gunpowder, it's Rolls Royce. And all these things that they all like to use to tell you that they are greater than you. Because that's all. If you look at the core of it, the only reason why any Nigerian elite is better than anybody is because they can buy some shit. They don't build nothing, they don't expand nothing, they don't innovate nothing. Dangote can charge us the best cement in the most expensive cement in the world. Doesn't mean his cement is the best in the world. Meaning he's not competing with the world. He's just holding us back from becoming homeowners. Do you understand? So this,
apart from the music that Fela is so known of, we also do something called the art competition. That is another form of inspiring others as well. So we have 3 winners at this present point in time. Let me go straight to the names. The artists are here at this present point in time. So we unveil number 3, the person who came 3rd, Amuta Isitoruka. So third place is Amuta Isotonuka. Well done. Second runner-up is Amoleokun Emmanuel. Let's view that art. Amioleme. Stand up. Thank you. And first prize goes to none other than Eweje Emmanuel. Where's Mr. Eweje Emmanuel? First prize to Eweje Emmanuel. Please give a round of applause to them for expressing themselves. We had over 85 entrants from all over the world, and it's always a pleasure to promote art in every aspect. I also give this opportunity to thank all our judges, Mrs. Shilon, Ms. Mufu, Mifade, and Sarah Bulus, and also for Ikeja moderating for us. Till next year, everybody say yeah, yeah.
Africa. Africa. Africa.
Visit Fela. And the police authority said, no, ma, we are under instructions not to allow anybody to visit him. And Madam Kuti told the police officers, a suspect is entitled to be visited by his lawyers and members of the family. And therefore, I'm going to visit my son. And Madam Kuti will insist on her right. And she was not going to leave Alagmo unless she could be convinced that the law allowed what the police wanted to do. And of course, contacts were made, and of course, she was allowed to visit. Fela was brought out of the cell and allowed to speak to his mother. And Mama, on that occasion, gave him strict instructions on what to do. Why Fela was not to be visited by anybody was because the authorities wanted to take his feces to the laboratory. Because when Fela was arrested in his house, he was arrested and the police claimed that they found a wrap of marijuana in his house. And as Fela was being pushed to the car, he said, where is he? You've come again. You found nothing incriminating in my house, yet you are taking me away. And they say, you mean we found nothing incriminating? He said, yes, what did you find? And the police officer brought out the material, and Fela grabbed it and swallowed it. Evidence destroyed. So for that reason, Fela's feces were meant to be taken to the laboratory. And so Mama warned Fela, for the next 3 days, you are going to feed only on a 40-roll and a small quantity of a bar. And Fela strictly complied with the instruction. And so by the time Fela went to the toilet, not the normal toilet, they would give you a bucket in those days. And the material was taken to the laboratory. Unfortunately for the government, it was negative because the thing had been diluted. But what we have done from that, what we have taken from that, is that today, under the Police Act of 2020, it's now stated very clearly in Section 6 that if a Nigerian is arrested, please note this, on getting to the police station or any other detention facility, the police or the detaining authorities must contact the family or the next of kin. 2, you are entitled to a lawyer of your choice. If you have no lawyer, the police must contact the Legal Aid Council or the National Human Rights Commission to give you a lawyer. Even at the police station, Fela fought for that throughout his life. I defended Fela for 15 years. On no occasion did Fela make any statement without insisting on contacting his lawyer. And that is for all of us. Secondly, once a month, not less than once a month, the chief magistrate, a chief magistrate in any area in the country, shall conduct a visit to all the police stations in the magisterial district with a view to ensuring that nobody has been detained illegally. Please, all of us, you must know the nearest court and the chief magistrate in your area so that you can insist that visitation be conducted. The other law that Fela fought for is that no Nigerian shall be subjected to torture in a police station or anywhere in the country. I'm sure that is what unknown soldier was all about, how they came to the house, beat him up, the mother, the brother, and everybody, and took them away. You also know about sorrow, tears, and blood. Again, about torture by the police and the military. The battle against torture was won in 2017 when the Anti-Torture Act was enacted by the National Assembly. Under that law, the police officer or anybody who inflict torture on a Nigerian, on a citizen or anybody, shall be prosecuted, and the penalty is 25 years imprisonment, no option of fine. If the person dies in the process, the police officer or whoever is responsible shall be tried for murder. Again, we must thank Fela for that. The last one is the case of Seun Kuti, an Attorney General of the Federation, arising from the brutalization meted out to the family and the burning of the house. Notwithstanding that the panel of inquiry set up by the government claimed that the house was bombed by an unknown soldier, the family fought the case from the higher court to the Supreme Court. And what was the defense? That the king, like the Queen of England, could do no wrong. So if the king burns your house, so be it. But the Kuti family said no. And when the Supreme Court gave the judgment, the late Justice Kayode Esho said, it was not in doubt that at least 1,000 soldiers invaded the house, set fire, and beat up all the occupants. That as the law stood then, under the 1963 Constitution, the government could not be held vicariously liable for the atrocities meted out to the Kuti family and others. However, that is no longer the law. That under Section 6 of the 1999 Constitution, the government can be brought to book. The government can be sued. Since then, the governments of Nigeria, I'm talking of federal, state, and local government, and all powerful people are being taken to court, and they are still taken to court on a daily basis to account for oppression. The last one is about bail. In every police station, it is boldly written that bail is free. But on a daily basis, as we are gathered here, Nigerians are paying for bail because the system has commercialized our liberty. On one occasion, 4 members of the Kalakuta Republic were charged before a magistrate court in Ikeja here. The magistrate had granted bail in the open. The practice then was that after bail had been granted in the open, lawyers have to go to the chambers, one after the other, to negotiate with the magistrate on what will be paid. On this occasion, bail had been granted to this young man. And of course, it wasn't my business to see any magistrate in chambers. And so I was not going to do that. This was a Friday afternoon. And this is a lesson for all of us. When it was about 3 o'clock, I asked the clerk of the court, please, can you ask the magistrate whether she's going to allow my clients to go home? They were already in the Black Maria. They were set to go to Kirikiri. And I went to them to let them know that They might spend the weekend in Kirikiri. But by Monday, I will get them out. And I was very sure by Monday, that magistrate will no longer sit. But you are going to Kirikiri. They said, lawyer, we no say the magistrate won't take bribe. Fela must not hear say we offer bribe. Okay? Kirikiri now for human beings, not before goats. If we go, we will come back. And no client have ever given me such confidence up to that time. Confidently, I went back to the court. As Fela would say, I did shakara to the magistrate, knowing that my client were not bothered. But somebody ran to the head of the magistracy to say, problem had arisen. Fela's boys, that's the language, Fela boys have been taken to Kirikiri because they didn't pay bribe. And the head of the chief magistrate had to rush to the court. And went to the chamber. And you could hear, don't you know you are caught in trouble? Answer these people so that they can go and you go on with your business. And of course, at that stage, my clients were released and they were allowed to go home without going to Kirikiri. The lesson for all of us is that we must struggle for our rights. We must defend our rights. The law is there. But we are too much in a hurry. And that is why we suffer daily. If there is anything I took from the Kuti family, it is that you must be ready to suffer inconvenience for your right. And at the end of the day, you will win your battles. So, while welcoming each and every one of us, I want us to realize that these are reforms that have been carried out in our country, reforms instigated by Fela and other progressive forces in our country. Today, we want to know whether we can continue to talk of reforms or revolution. But there are people who will tell you the crisis confronting us as a nation has reached a boiling point that we need to look for solutions outside the box. Let me conclude my introductory remarks by informing all of you that as we are gathered here today, 14 people who assassinated the late Thomas Sankara, Captain Thomas Sankara, Fela's friend, are being arraigned in Ouagadougou for murder. And number one accused, the first accused person, is Blaise Compaoré, who was in power for 28 years. And during those years, he made it possible for justice to be done. Even though he's in exile in Côte d'Ivoire, he's going to be tried in absentia. And this is a lesson for all dictators in Africa, that no matter how you run, justice will catch up with you one day. Fela visited Sankara. Both of us were supposed to be guests in July 1987. But my passport was seized by the State Security Service. But Fela was allowed to go. And Fela came back with fond memories that no leader, since the days of Nkrumah, no leader had moved Africa. No leader had a better vision than Sankara. And Sankara was talking of revolution. That country was one of the poorest in the world. But Sankara made it possible for the people to embark on revolutionary transformation of that society. In 4 years, that poor country, landlocked country, never took a loan. It was offered, the country was offered loans. And Sankara said, no, we don't need your loans. Our people are ready to develop our country. Sankara ensured that literacy rate of 13% went as far as 73% in 4 years. That everybody has to go to school. Everybody has to be educated. And one thing that will interest men here, Sankara banned polygamy and ensured that every Wednesday, once a week, men had to go to the market every Wednesday so that men could know what women were going through. Because for him, any revolution without the liberation of women can never succeed. After the assassination of Sankara, Kampaore invited Fela, and Fela said he was going to go. I said, how can you go? He said, no, Femi, the man will regret inviting me. And Fela went. And Fela had composed a song, Underground System, how they killed Sankara. And at the stadium, jam-packed fully of people. The State House was a stone's throw. Kampaore was going to call, but I think he changed his mind. And Fela sang, if they kill Sankara today, it's not going to be possible tomorrow. And the whole stadium, it was pandemonium. Fela won. But what did Kampaore do? What did he do? They ensured that all Fela and his members of his band were hurriedly checked out of the hotel, taken to the airport. The airport, the plane took them from Lagos. The plane was to bring them back to Lagos. You were there. The plane dropped them off in Cotonou and went back. And of course, they found their way back. And Fela, as soon as he came back, went to the studio to release that record. I recommend that record for all of us. The point I'm making therefore is that this celebration is so important on a yearly basis that we are reminded of the struggle that Fela waged to make this country a better place for all of us. And we want to thank the organizers of this program, particularly Yeni, for keeping up the struggle. And for our guests, I want to thank you in advance. I know time is of essence for each and every one of you. And I want to assure the audience that at the end of the day, you will have no cause to regret coming here today. Thank you very much. Right away, we are going to start the program with my sister. Ariola Oloko, please, can you come?
Okay, thank you. I want to say a big thank you to the organizers for having me here. When they asked me if I was going to speak today, I kind of said, what am I going to say? Then I now saw the run up and I'm like, all these sons and everybody and all the lawyers and Mr. Nnamdi, what do I have to say, you know? And then another thing that hit me again, I was the only female there. So I'm using this opportunity to speak to all the other females that are here. It is lonely up here, I need you. It is lonely up here. I need you to come and be part of it with me, please. This struggle is not just for a few, it's for all of us. Citizenship involves participation. So please, I need you to be part of it. I need you to participate. I need you to be engaging as well. We know, for instance, the 1999 Constitution does not recognize us as much as it should. And that's something we've been fighting for, that the Constitution should recognize us, women, youths, and people with disabilities. And that's my strong point. My struggle really is, look, we have a voice, and our voice has to be heard. We're not going to be shut. No one's going to shut us. No one has the power to shut us. The Constitution gives us the right to speak. He says we, the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I am a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and so are you. Okay, so I haven't said that. Thank you, everyone. Now, this interesting story, devolution, evolution. Normally, when I go to speak, I have slides and have all that. But I've realized that we're just talking so much, and we're not doing anything. And I beg, with due respect, I say this with due respect, please. There are a lot of people doing things, not that they're not doing anything, but it's not as deliberate. When you read the opposition, when you read the other groups, what they're doing, and how much they put into it, and the years they've accumulated doing all those things, they've been very intentional and very deliberate about it. I don't think we're deliberate and intentional enough. I think we just think that by some magic wand, it will just happen, things will change. I'm so glad to hear about the legend Fela. I have no words to call him by the name. I'm so in awe of him. I'm so glad to hear about the Kuti family and how they believe and how they've struggled for everything that they've gotten and how they've made a change. I'm a social change maker, and I believe that that's what we need to do. We need to struggle. We need to be part of it. I'm not asking for a revolution. I'm not asking that we destroy things or we maim people. I'm just asking that we use our voice, but we are intentional and we're engaging and that we're participating. So for me, this question is, should we not? I think there's a balance in between there. I don't think we should, actually, I believe in, I don't know if I should say it, but I do believe in one nation. I believe that a collective good will come out of it. I believe that we should stay together, but then within certain boundaries, not with what is operating right now and not what is on ground. I think that we need to get to a point where we're relevant enough for them to take us seriously. And I don't see that happening. I see that we're just talking and they're just sitting down there looking and saying, So when they make noise, they will shut up. Because that's what I see. Because we're talking, we're not intentional. I think we need to be intentional. I believe in the local government. I believe in autonomy for the local government. I believe that the ordinary man, the largest population of the country, which is the ordinary man, whether you like it or not, there's so much power at the top. And when power is at the top, money is at the top. And they influence everything. So we have nothing, and there's nothing that we stand to gain. I believe that local government autonomy would be the best thing for us. I believe that. Because it will be closer to us. We will have our say. We'll be able to be, but it's not just if it's closer to us. It is closer to us because we can participate. So it is because we can do those things. It won't just happen if they bring it and they say, oh yes, there's autonomy and they've given them the powers. I believe the local government should be able to create their own finances. I believe that you have power over their finances. I believe they should have power over who they need to employ, policies and all that. I believe that. But also do I believe that we need good leaders to be able to achieve those things. But I need you and I to be part of the process. Because if you give them the same thing again and we're not part of the process, it's not going to work. It's going to be business as usual. There's no point in wasting our time. So it is, for me, my own thing about this whole thing is that trying to encourage people to please play your part. It is expensive, it is time consuming, it's a time waster, it's everything else. But when you look at it at the long run, there's so much to gain from it. So my thing about all that, yes, everybody has said all the grammars. I'm sure Mr. Fabio will come and tell us what the Constitution says and what it allows us and what doesn't allow us. And yes, I believe that we should tweak the Constitution. I believe that strongly. I believe that we want a Nigeria that represents all of us. Not a Nigeria that is for a certain number of people, a certain class of people. I don't believe that we need that Nigeria. But then having said that, I believe that it is happening because we are not playing our part. If you are not there to do it, they will give it to someone else now. I mean, nobody's going to come to your house, come and start looking for you to come and do it. Unfortunately, it's not like that in the other circles. That's because we've let them go get away with it for so long. So I mean, this is just like an opening remark right now about what it is that we need to do. But for me, I stand here to say that I believe that as citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we have to be a bit more deliberate, we have to be intentional, we have to play our parts, and we have to participate, whether you like it or not. So that is my message today. I'm sure in the course of the day, there will be other things that will be said that I will have to answer to. But for right now, participation, engagement, that is your right as the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much, Aniola. I know you contested election in 2019, even though you didn't win. Please try again. You are going to win. And she has challenged all of us to be prepared to participate. I do not know yet how many people participated in BBN this year. I know that in 2017, about 26 million Nigerians were glued to their television, participated in N. No, it's not a laughing matter. The point I'm making, if we have the same number of young people taking part in the affairs of our country, the situation will be different. And that is why we must ensure that we participate actively in the affairs of our country. And Lagos in particular, the point she's making, there are 57 local governments. How many people took part in the elections? Figures were just announced because people didn't come out. So I think it's a lesson for all of us, and I think it's a challenge. Now, but I'm going to call one of our activist lawyers, and you will know, after listening to him, you will know that there are lawyers and there are lawyers. Dele Farotimi, please.
I look up there and I see evolution or devolution. And then I have listened to Baba FF's long sermons on Nigeria and Baba Fela. And then my sister Ari came up and talked about participation. And Baba FF came and rounded it up. We should all participate. And I asked the question, participate in what exactly? Because that is a question that must percolate through our minds. You can invite me to a party, but it's up to me to decide what kind of party I'm attending. So now, we're talking the national question, evolution or devolution. So let me break it down for us. Number one, when you talk evolution, you're talking about the natural process of emergence of any organism, and that might be a state. And when you're talking devolution, you're speaking to the decentralization of power, delegation of power to lower authorities. These two are incongruous when you're talking about Nigeria. They don't add up. Nigeria is not an evolutionary phenomenon. It is the product of an amorous relationship between the British and their several mistresses in the place called Nigeria. So we're all lumped together. My brother Tony would even argue that that charter has expired. I tend to agree with him. So when you begin to speak in terms of evolution, evolution in relation to Nigeria is a fraudulent term. There is no such word. When you now speak to devolution, Nigeria is a paradox when you use that word, because there are several levels of lies you begin to unearth the minute you begin to speak in terms of devolution in Nigeria. You don't talk about devolution of power in a federal state. If Nigeria were to be a federal state, we would not be talking devolution of powers. Because in the first place, the lines of powers were clear from the beginning. From inception, it was very clear that if Nigeria had not been made a federation at inception in 1960, there would never have been a Nigeria. The first secessionist in Nigerian history was Ahmadu Bello. He was the first to shout the word, I think it's the Araba or whatever they call it, for division. He wanted the Republic of Northern Nigeria or Islamistan or whatever, but they were going to go. But the compromise that brought Nigeria together, that stitched it together, and it's important we understand that, stitch it. You don't talk about devolution when a country has been stitched together. But it was stitched together on very clear terms. One of those was a clear division of power between the federal government and the regions. It is only in Nigeria you find the incongruity of a federal government that is creating local governments. Baba FF was up here and he spoke about, is it 57 LCDAs that Lagos State has? When the swagalicious people in Lagos State started their division of local government years back, it was the APC, it was the AD PDP years. And we were told very clearly that Obasanjo in his usual dictatorial term was the one who had made it impossible for LCDAs to become local governments in Lagos. I am happy we have lived long enough to see the end of the PDP as a force at the center, and the APC that they helped stitch together is the one in power today, and the LCDAs remain LCDAs because the madness of the federal government, where the federal government is the creator of local governments, remains in place. And even though they had told us that they were going to be talking about devolution of power and restructuring of Nigeria, and it was a core principle, that is no longer the case today. They will tell you restructuring is not part of their agenda. Even though the dwarf of Kaduna, that El Rufai, you can make that H-E-L-L Rufai. He was right there in a committee that was supposed to be talking about restructuring on behalf of the APC. So now, let us be clear about one thing. If you listen to the song Fever Nigeria by Fela, and I've read commentaries online where certain people have said that it was one of the few songs where Fela could have been said to have been politically naive. I say that with great respect in my heart because I've listened to the words. He was preaching peace and he was preaching togetherness. But there was an important ingredient that was missing in that message: justice. You cannot have peace in a place devoid of justice. General F. Young, I believe it was when he was handing over the instrument of surrender, he said something to Obasanjo who received the instruments. He said, treat these people well, or their children will rise to fight against you. The tragedy of Nigeria today is that we've all become Biafrans. There are no Nigerians because Nigeria is not a place where you have citizens. We are all Biafrans because the Biafran question was a question of citizenship. So when I see the question, evolution or devolution, all I can tell you is this: we have to be intentional. And one of the intentions that must be clear to each one of us is that we are not going to vote our ways out of the mess we are in. So those who have been intentional about getting ready for 2023, let them also be intentional about understanding that some of us will consider it our life's duty to ensure that we campaign for a boycott of that election in the absence of a restructure. Thank you.
I think it's important for us to know this, that participation cannot be in the air. And I think that is the point. Participation for what? People are participating one way or the other, but what are they participating to do? Is it to vote against the interests of their children, to retain the status quo, or to have a revolutionary transformation of the country from poverty to prosperity? Frankly speaking, I didn't know that it was evolution or devolution. I actually thought it was evolution or revolution. Now that I've been told that it's about devolution of power, power for whom? And Dele, I can tell you this: not less than 15 cases have been decided between 1999 and now. This wicked case is not the first one. Many of the states will have collapsed by now, but for those cases. Before, if you wanted to rebuild your house, physical planning, you had to go to Abuja or the federal secretariat to get approved plan for your house. The Lagos state government went to court. In fact, the judgment was 4-3, 4 against 3 justices of the Supreme Court. The waters in Lagos, inland waters in Lagos, to dredge the sand in Lagos, you had to go to Abuja to get a license. But the Court of Appeal said no. Inland waterways belong to the state. The House of Assembly can make a law. It is only when you are talking of intra-waterways that the federal government can come in. Of course, you know about the seizure of the fund of local government in Lagos. Conduct of local government elections. The federal government wanted to do everything. But today, what has happened with those powers have been cornered. All the powers taken from Abuja have been cornered by state governors. And that is why we must ask the question, like Dele asked us, participation for what? In whose interest? For what purpose? I'm going to call my brother who has done some work in this area.